Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Weekly Waffle, where we basically just give you a roundup of what's happened over the past week. I'm joined by Callum, Harvey, and Tom. And first up today is that League One and League Two got cancelled earlier in the week, which caused a bit of controversy among some clubs. Tom, can you tell us about that?
Yes, so this week, the League One and Two teams unanimously voted to end the season early, obviously due to the pandemic. This has meant that in League One, Coventry and Rotherham have been automatically promoted to the Championship, whilst Swindon, Crewe Alexandra and Plymouth have automatically been promoted to League One. This has also set up some interesting playoff matches. Within League Two, we have Colchester versus Exeter and Northampton versus Cheltenham. Whilst in League One, we have Portsmouth versus Oxford and Fleetwood versus Wycombe. Now, Wycombe has some controversy over why they are in the playoffs. The reason they got into the playoff position was due to points per games. Them and Peterborough sit on the same points with the same wins and draws. However, Peterborough, who have one extra game played, have an extra loss to that, meaning that they got put outside of the playoff positions. Their chairman was quite outraged at this decision, coming out and saying that this decision has meant that they will have to sell Ivan Toney, who is the league's top goal scorer, which is a bit of a shame. Now, if we go on to the relegation for these leagues, this has meant, obviously due to the season ending, this has meant that Tranmere, Southend and Bolton have been relegated to League Two, whilst as of today, we've just found out that Stevenage have been relegated to the National League. Obviously, there was questions whether Macclesfield will go down due to their points deducted, but it has come through that those points deducted have still meant that Stevenage are getting relegated. Now, there was a bit of controversy over this. The Tranmere chairman is not happy at all and has come out and said that they have managed to lose or will lose due to this decision around £1 million, and it has forced the club to potentially sue the EFL because of this, as they will not be gaining that money back anytime soon. And to end my segment on a bit of a sad note, I thought I'd just mention how it is quite sad to see that Bolton are going down into League Two this season, considering they used to be Premier League regulars playing in there quite often, and obviously now they've gone down into League Two due to going into administration and being deducted points for this season. So yeah, quite sad, but what happens when a pandemic happens.
Another news in the EFL, the Championship manager has managed to contract COVID-19. Callum, can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I can. That manager would happen to be Martin O'Neill from Stoke, I believe. Yeah, that's right. Before a friendly game with Manchester United, the players and the staff were all tested for COVID-19, and they found out that Martin O'Neill had contracted the coronavirus, having to scrap the game. And I believe after that it was held just between a Man United A and B side. So yeah, it's quite sad to see that with the Championship these issues are still going on, and that it looks like it could put a black spot really on this league restart sort of thing, because are people really still safe if people are contracting it? And will this put Manchester United in doubt? Because of course they say that, we were not in contact with Martin O'Neill, blah blah blah, but Martin O'Neill was still in the surrounding area, so there's possibilities, but let's hope for the best. Harvey, speaking of Premier League clubs, there is something I believe you need to talk about.
Yes, there is. We saw in the week that 2 players from Norwich actually did test positive for COVID-19. They had a game against a friendly game, behind closed doors, obviously, against Tottenham Hotspur. Game ended 2-1 to Norwich, actually. Not a great game for Jose Mourinho. He hasn't had many in his time there. There was 1,200 tests taken, only 2 positive, but this still does sort of pose the question, are we ready to go back to football when people's lives are still at risk? I've got the numbers down here. There have been 8,687 tests on Premier League players Only 16 have come forward, but still, that doesn't mean to say these 16 aren't of any importance, any value. If it was up to me, I personally would say, maybe sort of prolong it a little bit and go back in a few weeks' time if we are getting these tests still, even if it is a few people. But yes, that's all I have to say on the matter.
Speaking of the Premier League, another big player has been linked to Chelsea over the past week. Callum, can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I can. It's another man out of the Bundesliga, and it happens to be German wonder kid Kai Havertz, the 21-year-old, has been sensational this season for Leverkusen. The key player for a team that is currently fourth in the Bundesliga. And, it looks like Chelsea are linked with a move to him, which I do find a bit strange due to the attacking midfield talent that Chelsea possess with Mason Mount and Hakim Ziyech. We don't really know what Havertz is going to do, and it is a bit strange what they're going to do. But, Havertz is a very unique player, and we could see him play multiple roles, So it may be a coup for Chelsea. We may see Havertz find a role that he could prove productivity in, as I've spoken about in something else. Havertz has, in 7 games he's played at a forward-like striker position. He has scored 7 goals and got 1 assist for Bayer Leverkusen. So this may be an experiment Frank Lampard's taking. It may be successful, maybe not. But, we'll have to see where it goes from there. But speaking of the Bundesliga and Kai Havertz, the fixtures this week are a bit discerning for the 2 clubs who are battling for fourth, and which are Mönchengladbach and Leverkusen. Leverkusen with a little bit of an advantage because, of course, they got a point from their game, drawing 1-1 with Schalke. But the only reason they got their goal was due to young Spanish defender Joan Miranda making a mistake, which allowed Leverkusen to score and get an own goal. But if we're going to move on to some big games, we've got Bayern Munich beating Mönchengladbach 2-1 with young Dutch forward Joshua Zirkzee bagging a goal and Leon Goretzka. Mönchengladbach's only goal coming from a Pavard mistake. We have RB Leipzig being able to take a 2-0 away win from Hoffenheim, with Danny Olmo scoring in the 9th and the 11th minute to secure the win. We also had, in bigger news, 2 relegated clubs putting in absolute goal fests, and that is Frankfurt and Bremen. Bremen beating Piedmont 5-1 away, with former Everton central midfielder Davy Klaassen bagging 2, and then Yuya Osako, Maximilian Eckstein and Nicholas Fulkrug grabbing the rest of the goals. For that, in a position which really could help Bremen lift themselves out of relegation and which could really see them make a stance. But another team that's close to relegation is Frankfurt, picking up a 4-1 win over what was, before this, I believe, the second most informed side in Germany, in Hertha Berlin, with Bas Dost, Evan Ndika, and the man who hasn't performed really all season until now, Andre Silva. Before we returned to football, Andre Silva wasn't really performing for Frankfurt, to the point where they did have to bring in a veteran like Bas Dost from Sporting Lisbon. But I believe ever since we've come back, he's been the most informed striker in Germany, grabbing 6 goals in the appearances he's made since he returned. So he really does seem like he's getting into his own into this Frankfurt team. But which is also the question is, will Frankfurt make his, I believe it's his loan move permanent from AC Milan? But yeah, that is all I have to talk about from the Bundesliga.
We've also seen 2 big departures from a team in France. Tom, can you tell us more about that?
Yes. This week, the PSG sporting director has come out and said that both Thiago Silva and Edison Cavani will leave at the end of the season after the conclusion of the Champions League. This is quite an interesting one, to be fair. Regarding Cavani first, in January, he had asked to leave the club in the January transfer market, right after they bought Icardi from Inter Milan. However, the club managed to keep him and obviously keep on to this year. So it looks like he's wanting a move anyway. Regarding Thiago Silva, it seems I haven't heard too much about him actually wanting to leave, but what I've heard from him himself, obviously saying on reporting on other reports, is that he would like to remain in Europe. So that could mean him staying, possibly making a dream move back to AC Milan, where he started off his quite monumental career. Or potentially, we might see him in the Premier League if, I don't know, like a Leicester come along, maybe if they lose one of their big centre backs, or maybe to partner along Sion Chu, or maybe even I don't know, Spanish could see Atletico Madrid swoop in for him. Regarding Edison Cavani. We've seen that he's got a numerous amount of clubs wanting to sign him on. I think it'll be a good deal because I feel as PSG's record goal scorer, he's still got a good couple of years in him left for him to score, I could say like 20, 30 goals a season potentially. But one club that has been a big interest of him is Atletico Madrid. Now, talking about the Spanish league, we have Harvey, who has been watching over there. Harvey.
Yeah, so on the topic of Atletico, we saw them play today against Athletic Bilbao. They actually got a 1-1 draw. They're currently sat in 6th in La Liga, which is obviously something that we're not used to seeing under Simeone. You know, they've made 2 Champions League finals. They won the league back in, I think, 2013, 2014 La Liga campaign, I think it was, sometime around there. They have had this brilliant team for all these years, and now we see them at 6th, you know, sort of fighting for Europa League. It's a bit of a strange one. We did see yesterday, however, on the 13th of June, we saw the king of Spanish football return himself with 2 assists and 1 goal. Barcelona destroyed Mallorca comfortably. It was a brilliant game all round. It took a little bit of time for Messi to get into his game. He got his goal later on, but obviously with 2 assists, he was more than comfortable coming back from the break. I cannot speak, however, the same for his counterpart over in Italian football. Cristiano Ronaldo saw the return in the Coppa Italia, second leg against AC Milan at the Juventus home ground. We saw a 0-0 draw where Ronaldo actually did hit the post on one of his penalties. I saw a number only a couple of days ago when this game was played. Ronaldo's last 4 missed penalties were in different years. He got 2016, 2017, 2018. No, sorry. 2017, 2018, 2019 and 2020. He obviously is one of the best penalty takers in the world, but it just shows that after all this time out, even the best can be rusty, if you will. As far as the league goes, we see a return for big clubs like Lazio and Inter Milan coming through the week. Juventus' first game is away at Bologna. We see Lazio, who are a close second to Juventus in the league. They play away at Atlanta, who this season are, I'd say, Europe's wild card. You know, they've managed to score, I think it's more than 6 goals in a game on 6 different occasions this season, just showing they've been absolutely ridiculous in front of goal. I think that'll be a really big game for Lazio. Obviously, there is only 1 point at the top of Serie A, Calcio A, whatever you want to call it. I can't sort of keep up with that anymore. Inter Milan, they have a game, if I can just scroll here, at home to Sassuolo, a mid-table team. Inter Milan do have the game in hand on the top 2, but we've seen a bit of a dip in form prior to the COVID-19 break in their results, leaving a 2-horse race as opposed to what we thought at the start of the season would be a 3-horse race. As far as the Golden Boot goes over in Italy, Immobile seems to be running away with it. Ronaldo close second and Lukaku sat in third. Good seasons for all 3 of them. Back into Spain, the Golden Boot, you know, sort of take your guess. Who's it going to be? Messi's run away with it. It's his 12th season consecutively scoring 20 or more La Liga goals. That itself is just such a ridiculous stat. Obviously, in these seasons, he's sort of capping in at 25 to 35. I think his best, the record for the league itself was 50 goals in a season. A close second was Ronaldo, 48, I believe. He also tops the assists in Spain as well. So in the Spanish table, we are seeing Barcelona 2 points ahead of Real Madrid. Just now, actually, we are 14th of June today at the time of filming. Real Madrid have just secured a 3-1 win at home over Eibar. Eibar being a mid-table team as well. Real Madrid are now back up to 2 points. Eibar, sorry, a 16th bottom of the table team. Real Madrid have opened the gap back to 2 points behind Barcelona. They have a relatively similar goal difference. Real Madrid are one of the best defences in the league this season, along with Atletico, which is a bit strange to see them so far down. Maybe they are missing players like Antoine Griezmann up top, you know, one of their biggest goal scorers in the last few years. Going forward, Barcelona absolutely wiped Real Madrid out of the park. You know, they're 15, 16 goals ahead. It levels out on goal difference to Barcelona being, I think it's only 4 ahead. But in terms of the leagues returning, that is all I have to say on the matter. I think that rounds up everything from this week's football news, Lewis, I'll sort of hand it back to you to do the outro.
Yeah, so Harvey just said it. That's about it for this week. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Please be sure to comment down below your opinions on any of the topics we've spoken about in today's episode. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Follow our Twitter, Instagram, and Spotify. And we'll see you this time next week for the next episode. Goodbye.